Start.
Namaste to everyone. A warm welcome to our guest lecturers, Principal Sri Ramanavallavan Sir, Headmistress Srimati Meenakshi Ma'am, teachers, parents, and students. Saturday is a day for career counseling. Last two sessions, we analyzed some career opportunities in science and commerce category. This time, the focus is on computer science. Cloud computing is our topic today. First of all, what is cloud computing? Immediately, the first question that arises. In simple terms, cloud computing is a range of service delivered through over internet or a virtual space, that is cloud. That is a common idea about cloud computing. In detail, definitely our guest lecturers will be actually giving the detail. It means using remote servers to store and access data instead of actually relying on the local hard drives. And the best example for me is, I think, Google Drive. It's a free cloud-based storage. So then the next question that arises in our mind, in the common people is, what about the security? What about the service charge? But for students, the first question that arises is, what course we have to actually take to actually learn this technique? And what are the career prospects of this particular course? To answer all these queries, we have with us today two great resource persons who will explain in detail the career opportunities of cloud computing. Before entering into that program, let us invoke the blessings of God through a small prayer. I now invite Sri Parthasarathy sir to begin the program with the prayer song. Please, sir. So you're on mute.
அவனியெங்கும் நீரை அருமறை பொருளே ஆதிகந்தம் கடந்த அருள் ஞானவேலியே அவனியெங்கும் நீரை அருமறை பொருளே ஆதிகந்தம் கடந்த அருள் ஞானவேலியே அவனியெங்கும் நீரை போல் நின்று எமை நிதம் வளர்ப்பாய் இருள்தனி ஒளியாய் எமை காத்தருள்வாய் ஈன்றவன் போல் நின்று எமை நிதம் வளர்ப்பாய் உண்மை நிறையும் உளம் எமக்களிப்பாய் உண்மை நிறையும் உளம் எமக்களிப்பாய் ஊற்றெனும் கருணை தந்து உயர் வாழ்வு தருவாய் ஊற்றென கருணை தந்து உயர் வாழ்வு தருவாய் அவனியெங்கும் நீரை அருமறை பொருளே ஆதியந்தம் கடந்த அருள் ஞானவேலியே அவனியெங்கும் நீரை அருமறை பொருளே
Thank you, sir. May I now invite our headmistress, Srimati Meenakshi Ma'am, to introduce the speakers to the students. Please, ma'am.
Namaste all.
Namaste.
Welcome you all to the 20th session of our career guidance program on career opportunities in cloud computing. Our main speaker for the evening is Dr. Shekhar Sivaramakrishnan, who is a doctorate degree holder in software management studies and a gold medalist in BSc Physics. He started his professional journey in 1993 and has equipped himself to handle his job through continuous learning. In addition to his graduation, he has completed 13 certification courses and 4 diplomas in IT cum manufacturing related industries. Currently, he is working as a director IT consultant in an MNC, where he helps many organizations in optimizing their spend, educate them about the nuances of cloud computing, effectively use purchase softwares, and implement the process of IT asset management. We look forward to a very enlightening session from you, sir. Namaste and a warm welcome to you.
Namaste.
And it gives me immense pleasure in introducing G. Krishnanandan. He's the second speaker of the day. And I'm doubly happy to introduce him because he is the alumni of DAV Gilnagar, who has been a very promising student from day one of his schooling. He has always been a topper. He's always been very special, very enthusiastic. So definitely he's an inspiration to all the students present here. He's completed his graduation in computer science in the year 2019 at the College of Engineering, Guindy, Anna University. Post his graduation, he's been working at Trellix, which is a product-based cybersecurity company for the past 3 years. Welcome, Krishnanand. It gives me double happiness in welcoming you for this session. And you can take on from here. Namaste.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for that very warm welcome. Namaste. Good evening to all. Good evening again to my co-panelist, Dr. Shekhar sir, and Principal Ramanavelan sir, and teachers Bindu ma'am and Pathasarthi sir. So let me share my screen so that I can get started. Is my voice clear?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
So again, good evening to all. I'll be talking about ways in which we can develop a career in cloud computing. Now, all the points that I'm going to touch on are based on what I have gone through, right from undergraduation to getting into the industry and being here for 3 years and trying to understand how organizations are looking at candidates when they get them into the field of cloud computing. So it is mostly relevant to what I've gone through and what I see as maybe an industry standard going forward. So just a short introduction about myself. Like Meenakshi ma'am said, I've been at DAV Gilnagar right from 2003, which was my first standard, and I completed all 12 years of my schooling at DAV Gilnagar. After finishing my 12th, I joined Anna University main campus at Guindy, and I pursued a BE in computer science and engineering. Post-graduation in 2019, I joined Trellix, which is a well-known cybersecurity company based out of America. And right from that point, I've been working in the field of cybersecurity, and I've had a lot of involvement with it when it comes to cloud computing. So like Bindu ma'am talked about in her introduction, yes, cloud computing is basically delivery of all IT and related services over the internet. The biggest advantage of cloud computing is that as a user, whether you are an individual user or if you are a conglomerate, you end up paying for the services that you use, and everything is built according to your usage and the softwares or products that you are using. So another main advantage of cloud computing is that companies can distribute their data across different places in the globe, and every user or every employee in that company will be able to access any data from any data source location. So the distributed nature in which you can place the data and access it, that gives cloud computing probably the greatest edge and makes it maybe the software of this generation. And the biggest service that is being used by companies and users all over the world is the usage of software over cloud. And many startups have actually been found as a software as a service startup. So that is kind of the groundbreaking element of cloud computing, the ability to deliver software primarily as a service. So given that the world has taken a big shift to cloud computing, India has also taken very similar steps in making sure that we are also at the front of this cloud computing transformation. So I'd like to point out two articles that I came across in the last week or so. One is by Times of India, which actually predicts cloud computing to be the second most important in-demand skill going forward. And this projection is almost for the next 5 years. So that is a big deal. In India, if cloud computing is going to be the second most sought after skill, then you would know that companies are going after cloud computing primarily. Second is an article by Mint and NASSCOM. So as you know, NASSCOM is one of the greatest surveys when it comes to the job world, and they have actually predicted that India's cloud adoption could be key in generating jobs and revenue. So this is something that is being analyzed all across India, among companies, among governments. There is a huge push for cloud computing in India, and this is probably the right time for students also to pursue a career in cloud computing. So who are the major players? So just like any other sector, cloud computing also has a set of players that are dominating the field. Number one has to be AWS, which is the service offered by Amazon. Amazon, as you know, we know Amazon as just a shopping app, but their technological presence is immense. Once you get into CS and IT, you learn more about Amazon. But just have this in mind, Amazon Web Services controls most of your cloud computing traffic. Second, you have Google. So Google, as you know, is probably the most used search engine. That is how we know Google. But Google's cloud computing platform is rather nascent. They're upcoming, and pretty sure, given their status in the world of computer science, I think GCP will definitely be at the top very soon. Third is Microsoft Azure. So if you have to compare Microsoft to what we use on a daily basis, it would be our Windows operating systems, Windows 10s and 11s. So they're also having their own cloud computing setup, which is called as Azure. And the biggest, I would say, symbiosis that all these three organizations have is that they are competitive, but yet they focus a lot on their business. So I'll just point out this one example between Amazon and Netflix. So Netflix's content is delivered to millions of devices all over the globe, but Amazon is the one that hosts all of Netflix's content. If you recall, Amazon also has Prime Video. So why are they hosting their competitors' streaming services, videos, and all their content is being hosted by them? It's simple. It's just money and business. That's it. Doesn't matter that Netflix is a rival. As long as they get an earning from whatever Netflix's content is being shared across devices, it's still a win-win for Amazon. So cloud computing organizations always look for this symbiosis, and they are competitive, but yet they're very business-minded. So what are the requirements for a career in cloud computing? From my experience, companies look at a background in CS and IT at least your undergraduation level. So the way networks function is a very important aspect of cloud computing. That particular knowledge of how networks function, how different devices in a network communicate with each other. So all these are very abstract details that you definitely learn in your undergraduation if you go for a CSIT degree. But when you go for that CSIT degree, make sure that you give extra concentration to networks, because as a cloud computing engineer, that is something that organizations look forward to most importantly. So distributed systems, just a vague understanding, a picturization of how you can distribute data across different devices and how you can make people interact with them. I feel that will also be useful. And the basic, which is programming languages. If you choose to go for a CSIT degree, learning a couple of good programming languages is always useful. There are fusions with cloud computing as well. Cloud computing as a standalone doesn't function that way, but there are so many domains that you can combine cloud computing with in a very emphasizing manner. Some of the major cloud computing areas would be cybersecurity. Security, as you know, with the impending wars all across the globe, more than the bloodshed that is happening on the field, there is a lot of attacks happening between systems. Cyber attacks are very high now. So companies are focusing a lot on cybersecurity. Next, digital streaming and communication. Again, digital streaming, it is pretty much taken over the entire entertainment. World of entertainment is now completely digital streaming, especially in the last 2 years. And all of that is being facilitated by cloud computing at the back. Next, we have communication. So now, given that everything is happening via video conferencing, video calls, even this career counseling session is actually happening via video call. So you just understand where cloud computing has enabled the world to move forward in the world of communication. So machine learning and artificial intelligence go hand in hand. We would have come across a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence scenarios in our daily life as well. Our Google Assistant, our Siri, the suggestions we get on Amazon, the ads that we get on Instagram and Facebook, everything is coupled with machine learning and artificial intelligence, which is being driven by a whole host of cloud computing services that are being used by these organizations. You also have additional certifications that are provided by the major cloud computing players. The reason why they provide these certifications is because once an organization gets into an agreement to use one particular company's cloud computing products, it is very difficult for them to pivot. They have so many services, they have so many products that moving all together from one service to another is very difficult. So these cloud computing organizations themselves are providing certifications for at different levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced. So if you try to apply for a company, or if you want to switch to a company that is using one particular type of cloud computing service, say let's say AWS. So AWS has multiple certifications that you can get, and these additional certifications will help you, especially when the organization is using those products. It will give you a competitive edge over other prospective candidates as well. So this is something you can explore once you finish your CSIT degree and get into a company, because the company themselves will actually instruct you to, not instruct, but maybe emphasize you to get started with your cloud computing certifications. And just to conclude, some possible roles in this particular domain, because you would have had brothers or sisters in your families who would have also joined as computer science engineers, but they would be named as, say, senior software engineer or software QA engineer. And you would ask me, how is that related to cloud computing? They do they're involved in a little bit of cloud computing, but their primary roles are different. So if you are looking at a specific career in cloud computing, then these are some roles that you can look at. So cloud developer and cloud security engineer go hand in hand. They're very restricted to working with these particular cloud computing products, like say AWS, GCP and all. Front and back end developers are very similar to senior software engineer, software QA engineer roles. They focus primarily on the product that they are handling, but the product they are handling will have some interactions with these cloud computing services, which they'll also have to facilitate from their end by means of better knowledge when it comes to handling those products. Next, we have some other very hardcore platform related roles like SysOps administrator, DevOps engineer, and solutions architect. These are all very limited to the platforms that you handle in your companies, and how you actually help shape the deployment of different products at a production level. So that is about it. Hope the presentation was informative to you. And yeah, we'll now wait for Shekhar sir's
Yeah, thanks, Krishnanand. I mean, it was really eloquent and very informative. Shekhar sir, there was a question one person, student had asked if it is relevant for commerce students. You can just address that question also and take off from there. And participants, I see a few of you raising your hands. You can please post your question in the chat box. So as now I raised this, I mean, I've moderated the question to the speaker. The same way I'll be doing it. So please post your question there. So Shekhar sir, you can just answer this question and take off from there.
Sir, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat the question, ma'am?
Is this relevant to a commerce student? One student has raised. So you can just answer that and you can.
Yes. So it is not attached to like whether you are a commerce student or science student or something like that, right? I am a physics student to start with, and accordingly my interest was towards electronics, right? And slowly I moved towards the IT field. So if you have an interest towards your computer domain, anyone can avail this course and anyone can become a master, right? So don't restrict yourself that you're a commerce student, you cannot do that or something like that. If you are interested, yes, definitely you can go for that. But maybe the kind of studies what you're doing in the commerce group might not be applicable for computer related courses, right? For which you'll have to put some extra efforts, that's all. or otherwise anyone can do that is what my point is. Is that clear?
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. And participants, again, I can see people raising your hand. Please post your question in the chat box. Carry on, sir. Carry on.
Sure. First of all, namaste to Ramana Velan sir, namaste to all the teachers and students, and namaste to Mr. Krishna as well for delivering a wonderful content with regards to cloud computing. So I'm going to share my screen here. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about this cloud computing, because this is one of my favorite topic all put together. So I think I'll be able to talk about the basics of cloud computing, which is creating a great revolution in the human world, and that too in many of the IT organizations and not non-IT organizations. So before talking about any topic, right, always I start with a motivational slide. So this time I would refer to a bird, eagle. The eagle has so many distinct characters as a built-in character actually. So I have selected 4 distinct characters of eagle and probably want to correlate with us so that we can adopt those characters of eagle, which will definitely lead us to a successful path in our life. Okay, so let me talk about the 4 characters that has really drawn my attention. Opportunity, focus, transform, and preparation. So eagle, always if you see it, tries to, it loves to fly on top of clouds. And when it see a gathering of clouds, right, thick clouds, it will try to break that passage and go on top of it and start flying on top of the thick clouds. Whereas the other birds, other than eagle, right, they always find their path towards home when they see the thick clouds, but eagle tries to fly on top of those clouds, taking that as a challenge and succeeds in its path. Achievers always loves challenges and use them as an opportunity of learning. That's how achievers able to really work on their opportunities and challenges. Focus. Eagle always focuses its prey at a distance of 5 kilometers, not in a standstill position. It just circulates in air, and accordingly it just focuses its prey. It never misses its focus. It never misses its prey. It just focuses on its prey and try to grab its prey actually. That's how eagle focus its prey. Similarly, as a student, I want all of you to remain focused till your goals are achieved. There will be so many obstacles that will be coming and trying to deviate from your path, but don't get deviate away. Just stay focused on what you want to do, and definitely you'll be able to reach that path. Transformation is yet another important feature that I was able to understand from eagle when I was studying the distinct characters. When eagle becomes old, it used to go to a particular place and plucks its old feather, until the new feather comes out, it will not come out. That's the beauty of eagle. It prepares itself to accommodate the upcoming challenge. Similarly, if you have any old habit that stops your growth, that stops your ambition, that stops as an obstacle to reach your path of goal, try to shed off your old habits and come up. I'm sure that if you shed off your old habits, which are obstacle habits, please shed off them so that you'll be able to achieve a real transformation towards your goal. So eagle always prepared to fly high in midst of storm, in midst of heavy rains, and midst of thick clouds. It prepared itself to accommodate those kind of challenges. Similarly, students, I would request all of you to equip yourself to handle the change that you'll be facing in your life. Life is not going to be constant. It always changes. So equip yourself to handle those changes. So I thought this particular slide will give you some focus about your about the distinct characters of eagle, and probably I think you'll be able to adopt those things in your life to have a dramatic change overall. Okay, so let's get into the core topic. And before that, if you have any questions, please put across your questions. As Meenakshi ma'am mentioned, please put across your questions in your chat box. Mr. Krishna and myself try to take those questions wherever possible, and we'll try to answer those. So the main takeaway of this particular session would be introduction to the basics of cloud computing. And you'll be understanding the benefits of cloud computing, where to start and what next. The basics, I've just brought in only the basics for you. Krishna has given a very good insight on like what are all the kind of courses you'll have to really go in for, what kind of roles are available. So Mr. Krishna delivered those kind of inputs to you. Similar to that, I have just brought in the basics of cloud computing, which will definitely yield your attraction, and probably I think you'll be interested in doing more investigation about this course. Okay. I think Ms. Bindu ma'am put a very clear definition about cloud computing. I think I will not touch base that. She made a right statement. Cloud computing is delivery of different services through internet. When I say services, it includes a lot of things like applications, hardware related service, software as a service, okay, servers. When I say hardware, it includes storages, servers, networking devices, so on and so forth. So all these things, if you see, cloud computing, via cloud computing, this is provided as a services through the internet. That's about cloud computing. This is the basic. If you understand this, I think that will be enough for you to move on from here. So I brought in a picture here, a simple pictorial diagram, which will provide you more insight like how cloud computing differs from the traditional setup. Maybe this might be a little bit a technicality, but still, I thought this slide will bring you more insight about the overall cloud computing. Let us take an illustration here. Today or tomorrow, if you want to start a new company of your own, okay, say a 50-seater company, first thing you should have enough fund as an initiative amount to start with. So just refer only the left side of this diagram. If you want to have a own setup, right, you should have an initial amount as a big amount, as an initial amount to set up the company. And the next thing is you should have enough space to accommodate the products, to accommodate the employees, so on and so forth. And also you should buy the enough products of IT, information technology, say like computers, like desktop, laptops, networking devices, switches, routers, all those things you'll have to start procuring so that your business can enhance to the next level. And after procuring that, you have to install and maintain in a separate location that is called as data center, right? You'll have your own data center, put across those devices, install them and maintain them forever till the depreciation value is achieved. This is about setting up a own company. In case of cloud computing, if you have a computer enabled with internet, and if you enroll yourself to a cloud service through a cloud service provider, that's it, you're done. Without buying the products, whatever I mentioned in IT, right? Say like computers or desktops or laptops or even the networking devices, storages, software, all the services, whatever you're going to get via these IT products or hardware or software will be provided by this segment, cloud computing service provider, so that you can avail the service. Suppose if you're availing the service for 1 hour, you can just pay for 1 hour and come back. That's all. The amount of money what you'll be spending on cloud computing will be very, very less. That's the reason cloud computing has evolved to a greater extent. Like Mr. Krishna mentioned, right? So many companies are investing more on cloud computing related services. It's running on billions. So that's the beauty of cloud computing. So if you want to start a service of your own, a company of your own, within 6 to 8 working days, you'll be able to start. Whereas in your own setup, if you want to start, it will take minimum 6 to 8 months. That's the difference of deliverability between cloud computing and having your own setup of products. So introduction to cloud computing. So before that, Heraclitus, one of the philosophers living in the BC world, the only constant in life is change. He was the first to mention that the constant thing that happens in life is change. Today you are a DAV student or even non-DAV student. Tomorrow you'll be stepping into your college as a more additional responsibility. Your role changes over there. After finishing your college, you'll be moving on to the next level, getting into a company as an employee or even as an employer. You'll be starting your own company. Your role get changes over there as well. After that, you'll become a responsible person to your family and responsible citizen for the country, right? So if you see the overall change that happens in your life, it is always change. It is not constant. Today, student becomes college student becomes an employee or employer, so on and so forth, right? So the constant thing that happens in life is change. So if you're ready to accommodate those changes in a very planned manner, definitely I think you'll be able to break all the barriers that comes in front of you. So with that said, cloud computing is one of the important change that has happened in the recent past. If you say like for the past 3 years, I would say after COVID breakout, many companies has moved their own setup of data center towards cloud computing. That's a kind of change that is happening in the overall industry. So this this white cloud related portion, right? Assume this as a cloud service provider. To make the understanding more simplistic, I just brought this slide. This cloud service provider is capable of providing all the services via cloud. Via cloud means it is via internet. Don't assume that it is going to come through kind of clouds or something like that. Via internet, it is passed on to your end user device. When you say end user device, it is a laptop or desktop. It will be delivered to your computer, and accordingly, you can start availing those services via those services. That's the kind of beauty that is being provided by the cloud service provider. So it provides segments across all these things like storage, network, database, server, software, artificial intelligence, the latest one which is evolving in the market, analytics. Everything is provided via cloud as a service. That's how the company avails the service. And because of this reason, they are moving away from their own data center or own setup towards a hosted setup. Hosted setup is nothing but cloud computing. So logic is the beginning of wisdom, right? Always, it is not an end. So whenever you want to start to learn something new, for example, Meenakshi ma'am mentioned that one of the students is looking to start with cloud computing related courses, even though he or she is a commerce student, right? Before getting or understanding about the new things, right? Understand the logic, how it has evolved, how it is getting adopted in the market, how it is being adopted in various industries. If you start analyzing this, you will get to understand more about the topic. So I have brought in some facts which with regards to cloud computing here. Who coined cloud computing first in this world? It is not so old. In 2006, just 16 years before, in August 9, Google CEO Eric Schmidt was talking about this technology in a world conference. There was no great takeaway by the respondents because everyone was concerned about the data security, data breach, data privacy. So they were not showing much interest on cloud computing, but they want to stick on to their own traditional model of own data center. So there was not great takeaway in 2006. Similarly, in 2008, IBM implemented the first cloud computing service in a very small scale in India. Okay. But now, based on the analysis done by some of the research companies like Gartner, Forrester, they are the leaders in this particular domain. They have mentioned that in 2020, their analysis says the cloud computing spend was $250 billion and expected to grow by $360 billion by end of 2022. And there will be much more growth. And most of the companies who are in their own setup or own data center will be predominantly move towards cloud computing down the line in another 1 or 2 years. That's the kind of analysis made by these companies like Gartner and Forrester, and that's the outcome of the analysis that has come in. So why organizations are moving into cloud computing suddenly from their own traditional setup? To address business demand in much faster pace. If you recollect my previous slide, if you want to have a separate setup of your own data center, own setup, it will take a lot of time for you to meet the business demand. But if you're enrolling yourself into cloud computing related services, your business demand can be met in a much faster pace. Because if you meet the business demand in a much faster pace, that requires customer satisfaction and you'll be getting more kind of business from the customer. So many of the organizations are moving from their own kind of setup towards cloud computing. And how cloud computing achieves this? Through agility, elasticity, security, and cost efficiency. These 4 terms are very important as far as cloud computing is concerned. Agility, as we've seen, for setting up a own company, it will take 6 to 8 months. If you enroll through cloud computing, it will take only 6 to 8 days. The speed is called as agility. If you have the speed, if you want to enable your business at a much more speeder manner, like agility, just enroll into a cloud computing service, you'll be able to meet the timeline. Similarly, elasticity. Today, I have 6 servers enrolled as a service from cloud computing. If I want to expand that to 6,000 servers in by tomorrow, within no time, you'll be able to expand your overall infra. Likewise, for networking devices, software, whatever it is, if you want to increase or decrease the kind of layout, what you have obtained from cloud computing, it can be done on fly within no minutes. That's the beauty once again, and that is called elasticity. In 2006, there were talks that there might be data security breach, there might be data related challenges, and so many of the companies were not interested in cloud computing. But after experiencing the services from many of the service providers like AWS, GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, Alibaba, so on and so forth, right? They understood that they have very good security related controls in their overall services, and because of which many companies move towards the cloud computing. So it is a foolproof mechanism is what the service providers really made a proof. And finally comes the cost efficiency, which is not least. If I spend $60,000 for setting up my company, it maybe if I have a good control on my cloud efficiency related thing, the cost will be only 1/3 of my overall own setup cost. 1/60,000, 1/3 into $60,000. The cost will be very less compared to your own setup. That's the reason many of the companies are moving towards cloud computing rather than having their own setup. So the benefits of cloud computing. Let me start with the educational sectors. Few months before, when there was a COVID breakout, yes, you all had your education via online, Teams, Zoom, so many methods, right? And all these team channels, if you refer Teams as a channel, the entire Teams channel is residing on top of Microsoft Azure, which is the cloud computing service provider, right? Mr. Krishna mentioned about Microsoft Azure, right? So it resides on top of Microsoft Azure, and that's how the service has been provided via Teams. That's called modernized learning environment. You can have seamless, quick, and safe collaboration via Teams channel virtually. Not only Teams, there are so many channels like this. So you can have those seamless, quick, and safe collaboration via these channels. And easy access to educational webinars. This is one of the important advantages of cloud computing. We are delivering this particular webinar via Zoom. You all should be aware about this. If you have a own setup of blocking a conference room to have this kind of seminars, hardly there might be like more, maybe maximum 100 to 1,000 people you can say. But in case of cloud computing, if you post a webinar, more than 1 lakh participants can join in a webinar. And also, if some of the participants misses that webinar, it can be recorded like how we are recording this session, and it can be played separately. That's another beauty of cloud computing. So it has all the options like recording the webinars. You can play anytime you want. You can gather a lot of information about it. Similarly, if you have any doubts with regards to your topic, like school topics, no, like if you have something been doubt in your physics related topic, you can get into YouTube channels, understand how the particular mechanism works and all those things. The entire YouTube resides on top of a particular cloud computing service provider. That's the way cloud YouTube actually runs. That's how it provides service to many of the end users. And finally, the smart source of IT solution in higher education is second to the biggest advantage of cloud computing. So with that said, in our daily use, we avail services from cloud computing without even realizing. Some of the examples are banking. In olden days, we used to go to bank to withdraw or deposit amount, right? We used to travel to the bank, fill the challan, do the necessary things, stand in a long queue and come back. But with the online banking system, within no seconds, you'll be able to complete the transaction just by sitting in your home and opening your laptop. And the entire banking system of State Bank of India, which is one of the biggest banking network in India, right, runs their entire infra on cloud computing. They have both from AWS and Azure as a support, and they run their entire layout of banking on cloud computing. And the biggest advantage because of that is that they had good security over their data, and they were able to acquire so many banks, small banks, and they were able to acquire so many customers, one of the biggest network of India, right? So that's the beauty of cloud computing. They stay on top of cloud computing, provide service to many of the end users. Similarly, e-bookings, if you want to travel from one place to another place, you have so many apps. Many of the apps like IRCTC website, Redbus, so many apps are there, right? Where you go log in and book your tickets. Everything runs on cloud computing principle. They just enroll themselves in a particular cloud service provider, avails the service and supports you. Similarly, ordering your food, Zomato, Swiggy, everything runs on cloud computing service. They just enroll themselves to a cloud compute service provider. And most importantly, the healthcare industries. Recently, after the COVID breakout, you can have an online consultation with your doctor, not over phone, over web, right? Over a channel of Teams or over a channel of WhatsApp, whatever it is, right? You can have your consultation with your doctors online. Similarly, the kind of, you can order medical related equipments or tablets over online method. All these apps, whatever is running on medical or healthcare related industries is running on cloud computing once again. Similarly, the recreation, like if you want to go for a movie, you can book your tickets via some apps, and most of the apps are running on this kind of methodology. And work from home, if your parents are working from home, their organizations are enabled to them to work from home via cloud computing, moving their own setup of data center towards cloud computing. That's how has happened for many of the IT organizations after COVID breakout. So a few examples I would like to call out here, which you'll be using on your daily life, which is running on cloud computing methodology, which are called as Zomato. I'm sure you would have, we are familiar with all these apps, Swiggy, Netflix, and educated related medias, Amazon, medias related to news, healthcare related apps, your transportation apps like Uber, Ola, and as well as IRCTC app and your online banking system. Most of these apps, whatever you use in your daily life, the background is it runs on the principle of cloud computing. So I just want to stress this point here because you have a greater prospect, because tomorrow so many apps might come in to facilitate the human world, right? And those things also will be on cloud computing. So please understand the importance of this topic, and accordingly you can learn about this topic as well. So where to start and what next? There are top institute. Mr. Krishna was referring to some of the institute as well in his presentation. I have brought in some institute names which offers exclusively on cloud computing. SRM Institute of Science in Chennai, VIT in Chennai / Vellore. Similarly, Amity University, Chandigarh University, and Abdul Rahman Institute of Science. All these universities, if you see, they provide an exclusive subject on cloud computing. It is not part of computer science, or IT. They provide an exclusive topic on this particular subject so that you can understand more about this topic to a greater extent. Similarly, there are some online courses also offered by many of the institutes like Simply Learn, Udemy, and all those things. You do not go there. You can just understand these names. Tomorrow, if you want to explore more about this thing, you can always reach out to me. My number is there with your school management. You can just get the number from there and can get in touch with me to understand more about these topics. And where to start and what next? Forget about the institutes, what I mentioned, like SRM Institute or VIT or whatever it is. If you want to understand this topic to a greater extent, you have so many channels to understand. Via YouTube, you can understand. There are more other websites also where you can understand about cloud computing. You do not pay even a penny for that. You can understand the basics, whatever basics you have gone through now, in a much more elaborative manner, in a much more constructive manner, you will be able to understand that. Similarly, in AWS and Microsoft Azure, there are so many free articles which speaks about this particular cloud computing as a topic. You can just go through the topic in a very simplistic language it's put across. You can understand that in a very simplistic manner. And once you finish your +1 or +2, you can just move towards your IT or CS as per your kind of interest. And in parallel, you can enroll yourself into this kind of AWS or Microsoft websites and do some training programs over there, acquire some certifications, and be equipped to handle this particular domain in your futuristic world. Similarly, there are so many webinars conducted by specialists talking more about this topic. And also you can understand more about this topic through various channels as well. So this is what I thought I'll just bring in. So this will be a starting to understand more about this topic of cloud computing. And from there, we can move on to the next level. I hope this session was very useful to you. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. So I'm handing over this topic, this session to Meenakshi ma'am. So I'll take up the questions from there on. Thank you so much for your time and participation.
Sir, my genuine feeling is, we have grown a little older, and probably, we don't have a chance to, okay, learning always happens at any age, but still, I think when you're young, your mind and brain is a little more receptive to take up all this, technology and learn. We have, kind of, crossed that age, and it was very, we had a very good insight into the happenings to both of you. First, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I saw a few questions. One thing is, one person had asked, is the cloud computing related to artificial intelligence? Like, are they both, is there some similarity between them? Because the so-called Zomato and Ola and whatever was told in the slides, they use AI also.
Yep.
So is it, no? So you can just brief them about that. And I think a few kiddish questions on, why the, or what's the topic. Children, you all of you know that I think you've just put out this question for fun, but we're doing it on cloud computing. Okay. And I think at 11 and 12, you need to be a little serious about, taking up, you're deciding what careers you want to choose. And when you have such opportunities, take it seriously and lend a discerning eye and ear. Think about it. It is fantastic. When you go through it, you will know what big service DAV is doing to you. And sir, you can take just answer that question, sir.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. So AI, artificial intelligence, which is moving up in the market now, right? It is part of cloud computing. So cloud computing is providing that as a service. So a simple example of AI is that if you just log into your net banking, right, you'll be having a virtual assistant supporting you. Even before you ask the questions, if you type the keywords, it will just pull out the questions and start answering. That is the benefit of AI. Okay, so lot of informations are there behind AI in the form of FAQ, in the form of data, in the form of repository, everything. So that will be part of AI. And this AI, the artificial intelligence, is one part of the service provided by the cloud computing world.
Fine. And the next we have one question by Akhil Reddy. What is the future of cloud computing when it reaches its pinnacle? A very
There's
hypothetical question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Hmm.
There is no saturation for anything. There is no pinnacle.
Yeah.
There is no end point. You can start. You can be a learner for till your lifetime, and you can also be a kind of professor for your lifetime. It is up to your kind of wish. So there is no end for anything. So IT will be there because IT has become a part and parcel of your life. And when IT is there, cloud computing is also going to be there. You're using your cloud computing related apps on day-to-day life. So nothing is the end of life. Everything will be there forever. So you can be rest assured about the technology. That will be my answer for this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which platforms are used for large-scale cloud computing?
Yeah, I think Mr. Krishna was
Yeah.
talking about that during his presentation.
Yeah.
You would like to take up that question,
Krishna?
Mr. Krishna?
Krishna, you can say.
Yeah, sure, sir. So with respect to platforms that are being used for large-scale cloud computing, the main players are Microsoft's Azure, Amazon's AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud Platform by Google. There are some other cloud computing providers like Shekhar sir mentioned in his presentation. He touched on Alibaba as well. But yeah, if we have to look at the major players in this sector, it would be these three.
Yeah, again and again, I see students a little apprehensive about, the stream that they have taken. There's another student who's asking, can students from any stream, like bio example, take up this field?
If you're interested, yes.
Yes.
But there'll be a reason for you to take up a bio, right? That's what I was just mentioning at the beginning of the presentation. If you have a goal, don't get deviated, understand the facts, and take the choice. That's the way it should be. So just because of one session, you should not get deviated is what my sincere request to all of you. Have a thorough analysis about like what you want to do. There might be a valid reason for you to take up the bio course and do the analysis after which. But the answer would be like, even though if you are a bio student, absolutely no problem, you can do cloud computing, but understand like what you want and select your career accordingly is what my sincere request is.
Yes. And I think recording of this webinar session will be shared on DAV Group of Schools Chennai. It will be shared. So one person has asked, no, can the recording be shared? Yes, it will be there. And we will share the YouTube link also. You can go there and check. And so Krishna, as a layman, I can ask you one question. There's a lot of talk about data theft and people, even when we were using, we started using computer extensively during the pandemic period. We always had a doubt, because every time you go into an app, it asks, can we sync your phone with your photographs? Can can your device be accessible? Can we access the photographs, especially when it comes to photographs and videos? It's a very, very a little dangerous for anyone, because a lot of morphings are happening. So if you can just touch upon that, Ashwin, anything? Ashwin, do you want to share anything, Ashwin?
Sorry, ma'am.
Ashwin?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Sorry, ma'am.
No. You want to share something? You want to say something, Ashwin?
Fine, ma'am. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So because so these are the often repeated questions of which we have touched upon. So you can definitely, because the students should know, when they are going and clicking on so many things, especially, I think we should come beyond gender. No, it is not boy or girl. So how careful they should be. So you can just give a small insight. I thought you'll be the right person because you're into the security.
That is definitely a good question. I think that is definitely one aspect that pretty much everyone needs to be elaborated on. So most of the thefts that happen, they happen without our knowledge. That is the biggest deficit when it comes to these data thefts, and probably the greatest advantage for people who are interested in thieving our data, because most of the permissions that we give to these apps, as you mentioned, yes, they are dangerous. I came across this one incident where it was, I think, a secondary calculator app. It was asking for location and photos based permission. Why would a calculator app need location and photos permission when you're just going to use it for simple calculations? So I would say there are a few ways in which we can protect us and our data. Number one is know what the app is supposed to do, and be sure of whether the app is genuine. So there are reputed companies that involve themselves in app development. There are slightly suspectable companies that are also involved in app development. So given we all explore Google Play Store and App Store on a regular basis, that is one particular aspect we can be well informed about. So if Facebook is coming with a new app, like say some other, maybe if the Reels in Instagram, if it is ported to another app, then that's fine. That is still Facebook's app. Of course, they will take our data. Of course, they will track our location and photos, but at least there is an ounce of assurance that our data will be safe. And if the data leaks happen at the organization's end, I think Shekhar sir also would agree on this, that pretty much every organization is well equipped to handle data leaks and make sure that the leaks don't become a huge issue. So they are very conscious about cybersecurity, all the major organizations. And hence, when we install an app, make sure that you are installing apps from reputed sources. Don't try to install cracked apps. Don't try to install freeware, because they are the ones that will come with other problems like malware and bloatware. And when you are accessing those suspectable apps as well, they might have a purpose. It's not like we are installing them just for the purpose of installing. They might have a purpose. Once the purpose is done, just delete everything related to that app from your phone or device. Once, let's say there is a video recording and we want to install another third-party app which can help us increase the quality of the video, that is fine. But once the video is done, just delete it. Delete everything related to that app and get it done with completion. And the most data thefts actually happen when it comes to our banks only. The amount of scams that are happening with respect to our bank accounts and UPIs are very immense. People, the reason why UPI was brought into our system was to enable faster and safer payments. But now that is becoming the biggest evil in our society. So when you get such messages asking for money from you, or saying you won a lottery, or you've got a 45,000 gift hamper waiting for you, don't take that. Just don't go after those messages. Be sure of the message sender's address from where the message is coming, because if it's your major banks like HDFC, SBI and all of them have certified message sending headers. If those messages are coming from those message sending headers, then it's a valid SMS. But apart from that,
everything else is invalid. Don't even bother replying or taking part in what they have to offer to you. And always remember that OTP security is very important. Please turn on your two-factor authentication for your Google accounts. Please be sure that all your banking transactions are secured by an OTP two-factor authentication. These days, banks make it strict. They're very strict about it. Most of our banking transactions are two-factor authenticated. But even if it is disabled on your accounts now, please go and do that. It's not just for the students, but also for the parents, because that is where most of the problems happen. If you give your, even if you give your card details to a spammer or an account looter, if you give that details to them, they won't be able to take money from you until you give them the OTP. So be sure of not giving the OTP, not revealing OTPs to anyone. Be very safe about your card details. Don't try to store card details even in Google. That is my suggestion. Don't do that at all, because Google can obviously use that card details, and they would know how much limit you have on that card or how much balance you have on that card. They can still use it for your ads and all. So don't store card details at all. Even if it takes 1 minute extra to see your card and enter the details in every payment page, please prefer that, because that is always safe.
Nice, nice. Very nice, Krishna. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
really.
That was you really
Just like that, we are
technology
giving
is-
all the information.
Yeah.
Whatever the website, whatever they are asking, we are
Yeah, exactly.
giving all that
exactly.
information.
It
It's
was
like,
really a
good insight.
technology feast. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Bindu ma'am, you can take on.
Yes, thank you. The session was really very inspiring and informative. Dr. Shekhar Shivaramakrishnan and our prestigious student, Sri G. Krishna Anand, dealt in detail about cloud computing as well as machine learning also. And it's really enlightening us and entertaining our presentation. Through entertaining presentation, you have actually wonderfully explained. And one thing really we are amazed to know is most of our apps we are using without even knowing that they are actually using cloud computing and all the other thing and all, just like that we were using. And as sir was actually telling about SBA, through cloud, they are cloud computing, they are working means now only I'm just thinking about what will happen to the security and all that thing, But anyway, since he said it's somewhat secure, unless and until that something that is wrong that is coming from our end, no one can actually do anything wrong. So we should be very careful, as Krishanand was actually mentioning. Thank you very much for all that detailing, sir. And hope our students have endless knowledge on this new lucrative career. Exactly. Now, I invite our principal, sir, Sri Ramanavalavan ji, to propose a vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Namaste, one and all. It gives immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks on this webinar. And today, amidst the hectic schedule, the reputed guest speakers, Dr. Shekhar Shivaramakrishnan and our student, ex-student, G. Krishna Anand, they have presented a webinar on the title called as Cloud Computing. I take this opportunity to thank our beloved management, all the staff, all the students who have taken part in it. We are expecting you to take part in large number. As you know that first and third Saturday, DAV group of school is conducting this kind of webinar. So far, many students have got benefit out of this. So humble request to the students, please keep watching continuously on first and third Saturday and take part actively. Dr. Shekhar Shivaramakrishnan, Director IT Consultant, started this webinar with the motivational topic with the eagle. Opportunities, focus, transform, preparation. That itself is the very good inspiration to all our thought-provoking. It is simple, very simple, but effective and powerful. Definitely, our student will be focused till their goal is achieved. And also they will equip to handle all the changes, because only the changes are unchangeable. As you rightly say, in these modern days, people have to accept the changes and then only they can grow up. Also, it is amazing to note that we use, as Bindu ma'am said just now, we use cloud computing then and there itself.
Oh.
Without knowing, or some people may be knowing about it, but most of us, without knowing that we are using cloud computing, we are using it in a banking, e-booking, ordering dine and medicine, recreation, work from home. All the places you have covered it in very simple way. Definitely our students would have got immense benefit from your speech, sir. Thank you very much for your great speech. Namaste and thank you, sir. Engineer G. Krishna Anand, one of the topper of DAV Gilnagar. Today we'll feel proud of you, sir. You are there as an engineer and a cyber security professional. We got, in fact, our students have got enormous valuable points from you, stating that the major players in this field like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Netflix, and also what are the requirement for the career, for career cloud computing. So cyber security, digital streaming, communication, there are so many avenues are available for our children to choose their career. And also the possible roles, what are the roles they can take it? Cloud developer or a security engineer, front end, back end developers. So there are so many multiple opportunities are available in this particular branch. Emerging branch still, it will go still mile long distances. Thank you very much for your valuable time spent with us. Definitely our students will get a benefit from you. Namaste and thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you, my dear students. And thank you, our management members. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity, my dear children. The next webinar that is there on 3rd Saturday.
That's it.
Please join that. The topic, it is the 20th webinar. 21st webinar on 20th August 2022. The topic will be legal studies and its career opportunities. We'll meet on that day. Thank you very much. Namaste and thank you one and all. Thank you, sir.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Namaste.
Thank you.